Hey folks, I have an interesting screencast here, and it's about these lockboxes or these types of lockboxes, I guess, if you will. And the idea is that you put this behind your home and you press a certain number of keys. Order doesn't matter, so you could do 159 star or you could do 951 star. It doesn't matter what the order is. You have to press a certain number of keys. Oh, and the length of the code doesn't matter either. So you could do, 357 star or 3578 star. You can do as many number or as little number of codes as you want. And so I had a friend of mine call me and tell me, hey, I've got this lockbox. I own it. I trusted him. And he said, I don't know the code. I can't get into it. Can you help me out? And I said, well, why don't you just watch this lockpicking lawyer video, right? And so he went through it, and he um, if you I would just recommend watching the video if you really care that much. But basically what you do is you sort of press down on the latch and you wiggle a couple keys. And so he went through and sort of zeroed out. Let me see if I can bring this in here. He zeroed out and said, I think the possible keys are 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, or star, but that combination didn't work. And he said it's definitely not 1, 2, 3, or 4. So I said, okay, let's see what's going on here. Why don't I try it? So I tried it, and I came up with this. Again, this is using the lockpicking lawyer method. And I got completely different results. So I removed 2, 5, 6, 8, 9 and star and said, okay, I think it's a code with 3, 1, 4, 7, and 0. Turns out both of us were wrong. And it didn't work. The spoiler alert: we did finally crack the code, and that's sort of the point of this video. And we did it with a very interesting method. So one idea I had was, if you think about the different permutations of the codes, if you look at combinations of all 12 digits, you have a lot of different combinations of codes. But if you look at the possible combinations, let me see if I can pull this over here. If you look at all the different possible combinations, which is 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and star, there are less possible combinations. So I said, is it possible for us to come up with some sort of code where, if you know the possible digits, and so here's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, and star. And again, this is in my python.git in a folder called Lockbox, if you'd like to take a look at it. And I said, if I only have these possible digits, can I compute what they are? Well, I realized first that the number of possible solutions is actually an n take k problem. And n take k basically says out of 11 possible digits, or say here is number of digits. It's saying, this is 4k in n plus 1, and n is up to 11. So it's saying, let's say you have 11 possible digits. Give me all the possible permutations of just 2 digits. Give me all the possible permutations of just 3 digits, of just 4 digits. And so you go in and you go through there, and this is a very standard mathematical problem that is used into statistics. And I actually teach this in my instrumentation class. Chapter 6 is all about statistics. And you basically take the factorial of the total number of possibilities divided by divided by the factorial of the individual digits that you're using. So again, if you have 11 possible digits, and I'm curious why it's only 11 here. I thought, let me look at the photo again of the lockbox. Oh, okay, I see. That's a 0 and a star. What about in the video here? Okay, so they have a pound. So this code would actually be harder to break because this has 12 possible digits. Our lockbox only had 11. So it had the 3 times 3 is 9. So it had the numbers 1 through 9, and then a 0, and then a star. So there is no pound. So our code, our lockbox was a little bit easier to crack. So anyway, so if you take the factorial of the total number of digits, so in this case we only had 11, and you divide it by the factorial of the total number of digits possible times the factorial of n minus k, so if you're looking at all the possibilities of 2, doing n minus k would be 11 minus 2, or a factorial of 9, that will tell you the total number of possibilities of 2 digits out of 11 digits. And so I realized it was an NTK problem, which really helped out because when I go here to Lockbox, Python 3 Lockbox amount, that code runs through very quickly, and you see that, if you have 11 digits and the code is of length 1, you have 11 different possibilities. And that makes sense. You can press the 1 and try and open it. You can press the 2, try and open it. Press the 3, try and open it. And you can do all 11 digits. Once you get to 2, you've got 55 possibilities because you can do 1 2, 1 3, 1 4, 1 5, 1 6, 1 7, yada, 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 55 possibilities. Things start to get kind of unruly when you get up to 5 and 6 codes because there are 462 different possible combinations. Now, what I realized, though, was that the total number of possible combination is 2,074. And so I said, my friend needs help. He doesn't need to get into this lockbox urgently. If he tried on his own 200 combinations a day, he would crack it with brute force in 10 days. Now, if I did it and a friend of his did it, that would be 3 people. You're taking 10 days divided by 3. Well, we ended up getting 5 people to help out, and we cracked it brute force in 3 days. And the way we did it was I created another code. And so this is the thing. This NTK problem only tells you the total number of possible combinations. I had to write this insane recursion problem where I looked at and I said, okay, if you press a digit, there's 11 different possible combinations. And then the remaining digits that you can plug in is basically the first digit removed and then the same problem over again with only those digits remaining. Then you press another digit and the rest is the remaining digits that you're allowed to press. And so I did a recursion problem here. So I said for L in range, yada yada, and I would say print specific length, and I would go through here, and here is where I would get the combinations. And in the combinations, I would say if max length is 0, once we're at max length, it means we've pressed all the keys, and we sort everything, and we're done. Otherwise, we press a digit, and then we run the code again. And this is what recursion is. You run a function, and then you run the function again and again every time you press a digit. And then what happens is when you get to the end of max length equals 0, where you've pressed all the possible digits, you back out. Now, what happened was when I ran this is when you have 11 digits, you end up recursively running through too much for my computer's stack to handle. And so what I realized, though, is that if you look at all of the possible combinations with a password, I'm going to call it a password, of length 2, it's the same as the password of length 9, which makes sense. 11 minus 2 is 9. So if you take all the possible combinations of length 2 and then compute the inverse, so you say, instead of plugging in these two numbers, I'm going to plug in the other remaining 9, you can automatically compute the passwords of length 9 without actually having to compute it brute force. And that made the code run a lot faster. So the basic idea is, if I'm in a situation where I'm over a certain level, and I did a less than here. I'm not entirely sure why I chose that. It's been a long time since I wrote this code. But I run the inverse. Otherwise, I just print the specific length. And so what happens here is if I run Python 3, and this is called Lockbox final, here are all the different... and I'm not disclosing anything here. I'm not telling you what the code of the Lockbox is. But what this does tell you is it tells you every single possible combination. So I think this is the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th code. This is the number that you press. So you press the number 5, you try and open it. You press the number 1, you try and open it. You press the number 3. And then this is 1 out of 11. There are 11 different possible combinations with codes of length 2. When you get to codes of length 1. When you get to codes of length 2, you've got 55 possible combinations. This gets you up to 66 different codes. And so you can see here you've got 228, star 2, 0, 5. Also, the order of my code doesn't really sort everything properly, so you end up getting codes in a lot of order. So what I did is I took every single one of these codes, and I threw it into this spreadsheet called Crack the Code. And I said, the idea is to try 200 different combinations every day and then mark them in red once you've tried them. Hopefully one of us will score the winning combination. We can crowd this code faster if we crowdsource this lockbox. Share this spreadsheet with everyone you know. If we had 10 people to try 200 codes, we would be done in one day. And so here are all the codes, and here are everything, and they're in red because we tried all of them. We tried, well, I say we, I tried 200, and my friend and a couple of my other friends, they tried other codes. And we ended up cracking the code, and it ended up being a code that was of length 5, and it was really annoying because the length 5 has 462 possibilities. Now I'm not going to scroll down because I don't want you to tell you what the code is. But the point is that I just thought this was kind of humorous because Lockpicking Lawyer, he gets up on here, and I love his YouTube channel, and he says this is how you crack it. And in the end, crowdsourcing, friendship, teamwork, and a little bit of Python code and some Google Sheets allowed us to crack this code in 3 days. And I just think that's kind of a really cool story to share with you all, that if you get into a situation like this where you have a lockbox like this and you have 3 days to spare and you have 5 friends, grab some beers and just try every single code, and eventually you'll get it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this sort of unorthodox video. If you need a link to the code or anything like that, just post in the comments, and I hope to see you in the next video.